Good morning everyone. My name is Vijay Gupta and you are watching biology classes. So welcome to all of you in this lecture of biology. So students, in this lecture I will continue the topic of pollination. In my last lecture I described about the pollination, about its definition, about the type of pollination like self-pollination and cross-pollination. In this video I will tell you about the agents of pollination, means which are the different methods through which the process of pollination takes place. So let's start the video. First of all, what is the meaning of agents of pollination? Those factors or those agents through which the process of pollination completed in the angiospermic flowers is known as agents of pollination. Now I will describe the pollination again. As we know that angiospermic plants consist of flowers, and the flowers are the reproductive organ of an angiospermic plant. In each flower, male and female, both the sex organs are present, in which male organ is known as androecium while the female is known as gynoecium. The male androecium consists of stamens, or you can say the single unit of androecium is known as a stamen. The upper part of stamen is known as anther, which produces the microspores or the pollen grains, which are the male gamete. While inside the female organ or the gynoecium, ovules are formed, which are the female gamete. So before the process of fertilization, the process of pollination takes place. And what is the pollination? When the pollen grains of a flowers reaches from anther to the stigma, the phenomenon is known as pollination. As we know that pollen grains are the male gamete produces inside the stamen or the anther, and from the anther they liberated out, and from anther they moves towards the female gamete or the stigma of gynoecium is known, and the phenomenon is known as pollination. So what are the methods, what are the agents which helps the pollen grains in reaching from anther to the stigma are known as the agents of pollinators. So as you can see, there are two types of agents involved in the process of pollination. First one are abiotic agents and the second one are biotic agents. Abiotic agents means the non-living agents, while the biotic agent means the living agents. So in abiotic agents there are two agents. First one is air and the second one is water. When the pollination takes place with the help of air, then it is known as air pollination. So the definition is the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of another flower with the help of air is known as air pollination. The scientific term for air pollination is anemophily. Anemo means air and phily means pollination. So anemophily is the term which is especially used for the air pollination. So the pollination which takes place by the wind or the air is known as air pollination. Scientifically or biologically it is known as anemophily. And the examples of anemophily flowers like wheat, maize, rice, etc. These plants shows air pollination. Now the next one is water pollination. Water is another abiotic agent which helps in the process of pollination. So when the pollination takes place with the help of water, then it is known as water pollination. Means the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of different flower with the help of water is known as water pollination. Sometimes the plants are aquatic. Aquatic means they are present in the water. They may be marine water or the fresh water. So if the plants are submerged, means completely submerged in the water, then the pollination takes place with the help of water. Pollen grains moves towards the female or the stigma with the help of water. So this phenomenon is known as water pollination, and the scientific term or the biological term for this process is known as hydrophily. Hydro means water and phily means love, yani ke means hydrophily. So when the pollination takes place with the help of water, then it is known as water pollination or the hydrophily. Now we'll talk about the biotic agents. What are the biotic agents? Biotic means the living agents. Especially animals are involved in the process of pollination. So pollination by animals, the main biotic agent is animal. So the pollination of animal include under the biotic agents, and the scientific term is zoophily. As for air, anemophily; for water, hydrophily; for the animals, it's zoophily. Zoo means animal, so zoophily is a term which is used for the pollination by the animals. So when the pollen grains of one flower or the from the anther moves towards the stigma of different flower with the help of any animal is known as zoophily. So there are several categories of zoophily, or you can say different kinds of zoophily can be seen in the nature. So first one is insect pollination. Sometimes insects like butterflies, moths, honeybees, wasps, etc. carries the pollen grain from the anther to the stigma. So this type of pollination is known as insect pollination, and the biological term is entomophily. Entomophily, the word entomo means insect. There is a branch in biology that is entomology. Study of insects is known as entomology. So the word entomo refers to the insects. So entomology means pollination with the help of insects. And the example of entomology such as rose, like salvia, jasmine, etc. These are the very beautiful and attractive flowers consisting of nectar and a beautiful fragrance. So the insects attract toward these flowers and complete the process of pollination. Now the next is bird pollination. When the pollen grains from one flower reaches to the stigma of any other flower with the help of any bird, then this type of pollination is known as bird pollination. Now suppose that it is a flower. It is a flower of bignonia. In bignonia flower, pollination takes place with the help of birds. So it is a flower of bignonia, and this is a bird, a small bird known as the hummingbird. So hummingbird is a small bird which enters its beak into the flower, into the corolla tube, and the pollen grain sticks in the beak of the bird. When this bird inserts its beak on any other flower, then the pollen grain reaches from one flower to another with the help of this bird, this hummingbird. So this phenomenon is termed as the bird pollination, or you can say ornithophily. Now what is the ornithophily? A branch of biology known as ornithology, study of birds. So the word ornitho refers to the birds. So ornithology means the study of birds, while ornithophily means the pollination takes place by the birds is known as ornithophily. So the scientific term is ornithophily for the bird pollination. Now the next one is snake pollination. Means when the pollen grains from one flower to another reaches to the another flower with the help of snake, then it is known as snake pollination. In biology it is known as ophiophily. Ophiology is the study of snakes. So the word ophio means snake. So the ophiophily means pollination with the help of snake, or you can say snake pollination. So it was the snake pollination, and the example of snake pollination is arum plant. In arum plant, pollination takes place with the snake. Now the next is snail pollination. Snail is what? Snail is a small member of phylum Mollusca, or you can say Pila globosa. Biologically it is known as Pila globosa. So it is a marine or aquatic animal. So when the snail carries the pollen grains, then this type of pollination is known as snail pollination, and biologically it is known as malacophily. Malacophily means when the pollination takes place with the help of snail, then it is known as malacophily. And the example of this plant is Amorphophallus. Amorphophallus is a plant in which pollination takes place with the help of snail. Now the next one is, or the last one is bat pollination. Bat is a Pteropus medius, an animal. So bat is especially a nocturnal animal, as we know. When the pollen grains from one flower to another moves with the help of bat or Pteropus, then this type of pollination is known as bat pollination. And the example of bat pollination is Bahonia and Anthrocephalus. Anthrocephalus known as Kadamb in Hindi. So Anthrocephalus or Bahonia both are the example of bat pollination. In biological term, Chiropterophily. The term Chiropterophily is used for the bat pollination. So these are the types of zoophily, or you can say branches of zoophily. I will summarize once. So when the pollination takes place with the insect, it is known as entomophily. When it takes place with the help of bird, it is known as ornithophily. When it takes place with the help of snakes, it is known as ophiophily. When the pollination takes place with the help of snail, it is known as malacophily. And finally, when the pollination takes place with the help of bat, then it is known as chiropterophily. So it was all about the biotic agents of snake pollination. So in this video I told you about the agents of different types of pollination, abiotic agents and biotic agents. In my next videos I will describe in detail about anemophily, hydrophily and the entomophily. These terms are not required in detail, so I will describe these three terms: anemophily, hydrophily and zoophily. So in this video it was all about the agents of pollination. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.